Have you ever wondered what would happen if Luffy was reborn with all of his memories? Would he manage to save everyone he lost and conquer the Grand Line faster than anyone thought possible? And most importantly, would he actually find the One Piece this time, or would changing the past destroy everything? Let's find out. Luffy opens his eyes and he's a kid again. He's back in Fuusha Village years before he ever set sail. Shanks and the red hair pirates are still docked at the harbor. The Sea King hasn't taken Shanks' arm yet, and Luffy hasn't eaten the Gomu Gomu no Mi. But here's the thing, Reborn Luffy remembers everything. Gear 5, Nika, the Void Century, Laugh Tale, every crewmate, every battle, every loss. And the first thing this version of Luffy would feel isn't excitement, it's grief. Because he remembers watching Ace die in his arms at Marineford. He remembers the Going Merry sinking beneath the waves. He remembers every moment of pain that shaped him into the man who became the next Joy Boy, and now he has a chance to change all of it. So what does Reborn Luffy do first? I believe he eats the Gomu Gomu no Mi on purpose this time. In the original story, it was an accident, but this Luffy knows it's secretly the Hito Hito no Mi Model Nika, possibly the most important devil fruit in existence. He'd eat it immediately, and when Shanks leaves, Luffy would let him go. He wouldn't try to change that moment because he knows the Straw Hat Promise is sacred. What he would change is the training. Instead of just roughhousing with Ace and Sabo in the mountains, Reborn Luffy would start developing his Haki early. He knows Observation Haki, Armament Haki, and Conqueror's Haki. His child body can't handle all of it yet, but he can start laying the foundation years ahead of schedule. And speaking of Ace and Sabo, this is where Reborn Luffy faces his first impossible choice. He knows that Sabo is going to be shot by a celestial dragon when he sails out of the Goa Kingdom. In the original timeline, everyone thought Sabo died that day. He actually survived but lost his memories and was rescued by Dragon. Reborn Luffy could prevent this entirely. He could warn Sabo. He could convince him not to sail that day. But if Sabo never gets rescued by Dragon, he never joins the Revolutionary Army. And the Revolutionary Army without Sabo is significantly weaker. I believe Luffy would struggle with this, but ultimately, he'd try to save his brother. He just couldn't watch it happen again, knowing what he knows. Now, the East Blue Saga would be an absolute speedrun. Luffy knows exactly where every crewmate is and exactly how to recruit them. Zoro at Shell's Town, Nami at Orange Town, Usopp at Syrup Village, Sanji at Baratie. He'd collect them all, but here's the fun part. He'd be way too strong for every enemy in the East Blue. Alvida, one Conqueror's Haki Blast, and she faints. Captain Kuro, wouldn't even be a fight. Arlong, Luffy could obliterate Arlong Park in seconds. But he wouldn't, at least not right away, because Reborn Luffy understands something the original Luffy learned the hard way. His crew needs to fight their own battles. If Luffy solves every problem, his crewmates never grow, and he's already seen what happens when his crew isn't strong enough. One important thing to remember here is that even though Luffy is holding back, certain things would still change. His bounty after East Blue would be astronomical compared to the original 30 million berries. Anytime he accidentally lets too much power slip, the world government takes notice. And the world government noticing Luffy earlier than expected is a very dangerous thing. At Logtown, something interesting would happen. In the original timeline, Luffy almost gets executed on the same platform where Gol D. Roger died, and a bolt of lightning saves him. Reborn Luffy would know this is coming. He'd stand on that platform anyway because he's Luffy, and he'd let the moment play out. Dragon would still be watching from the shadows, and for the first time, Luffy might actually try to make contact with his father, not because he needs help, but because the Revolutionary Army's plans intersect with his goals more than he originally realized. Entering the Grand Line, Luffy would make a beeline for his crew members. He'd pick up Chopper at Drum Island without breaking a sweat. He'd handle Crocodile in Alabasta much faster, probably exposing his weakness to water immediately instead of needing 3 attempts. He'd recruit Robin before she even needs to sacrifice herself, because he already knows her tragic past and the truth about Ohara. But here's where the but comes in. Every arc Luffy breezes through is an arc where his crew doesn't get pushed to their limits. Zoro never needs to develop his techniques against Mr. One if Luffy already defeated Crocodile. Sanji never needs to discover his Diable Jamb if there's no CP9 fight pushing him beyond his limits. Nami doesn't develop her climb attack skills if she's never truly in danger. And guys, trust me, this is going to become a massive problem later. Water 7 and Enies Lobby would still happen because Reborn Luffy would let them happen. He knows Robin needs to be taken by CP9 so the crew can prove they'd go to war with the world government for her. That moment where they stand on the courthouse and tell Robin to say she wants to live, Luffy would need that to happen. Some events are too important to change. But the raid itself would be wildly different. Luffy wouldn't need Gear 2 or Gear 3 to beat Lucci. He could use Gear 4 or even tap into Gear 5 if he wanted. He wouldn't because, again, the crew needs to struggle. But the temptation would be enormous. Thriller Bark would still be fun because Reborn Luffy would let his crew enjoy the adventure. He knows Brook is there, he knows how badly the crew needs a musician, and he knows the nothing happened moment where Zoro takes all of Luffy's pain from Kuma is one of the most important character-defining moments for Zoro. He'd let it play out. Sabaody is where Reborn Luffy's foreknowledge becomes both a blessing and a curse. Luffy knows about Kuma, knows about the separation, and this is where he might make a critical decision. In the original timeline, Kuma separated the crew and sent them to specific islands where each member trained for 2 years. This was essential. Every Straw Hat became dramatically stronger because of those 2 years. Reborn Luffy might actually let the separation happen on purpose. He'd hate it. Watching his crew get sent flying one by one again would tear him apart. But he knows they need that training. What he wouldn't let happen is the events leading up to it. Because Marineford is coming, and this is the event Reborn Luffy would change at any cost. In the original timeline, Ace is captured by the Marines after losing to Blackbeard and scheduled for public execution. Luffy breaks into Impel Down, fights through every level of the underwater prison, recruits allies like Crocodile, Jinbe, Ivankov, and Buggy, storms Marineford with Whitebeard's entire fleet, and reaches Ace. They're running away. They're almost free. And then Akainu taunts Ace about Whitebeard. Ace turns around to fight, and Akainu's Magma Fist punches clean through Ace's chest as he shields Luffy. Reborn Luffy would never let that happen. He knows when Ace fights Blackbeard. He knows the exact time and place. He could intercept Ace beforehand, convince him not to pursue Blackbeard alone, or even show up to the fight himself. With knowledge of Blackbeard's Yami no Mi and his tricks, Luffy could help Ace win, or at least escape. Ace lives. Marineford never happens. Whitebeard doesn't die. The entire power structure of the pirate world remains intact. But what if I told you this is where everything starts falling apart? See, Marineford wasn't just a tragedy. It was the event that reshuffled the entire world. Whitebeard's death created the power vacuum that let Blackbeard rise to emperor status. It's what made the Marines rethink their entire strategy and create the SSG as warlord replacements. It's what motivated countries to shift allegiances. Without Marineford, the world of One Piece stays frozen in place. The Yonko system doesn't change. Blackbeard doesn't get the Gura Gura no Mi. And that means when Luffy arrives at the new world, the landscape is completely different from what he remembers. Kaido is still in Wano. Big Mom is still in Whole Cake Island. But the alliances, the conflicts, the shifting politics that created openings for Luffy's crew, none of those exist anymore. And worse, Luffy's crew, the crew he's been protecting all this time, hasn't been forged in the same fire. Zoro never had the rooftop moment against Kaido because the circumstances that led there never aligned. Sanji never had his emotional breakdown in Whole Cake Island because the political situation is different. The Straw Hats are strong, yes, but they're not the hardened war veterans that the original crew became through suffering. When Luffy finally reaches Laugh Tale, when he finally stands where Gol D. Rogers stood and learns the truth of the Void Century, he'd realize something devastating. He can find the One Piece. He has the knowledge, the power, the crew. But the world isn't ready for it, because the original timeline required all that suffering, all that chaos, all those deaths to create the conditions where Luffy's dream could actually change the world. Joy Boy's will isn't just about finding a treasure. It's about arriving at the right moment, with the right people, after the right struggles, and Luffy changed too many of those variables. He'd stand on that island, laughing and crying at the same time, just like Roger did. Because now he understands why Roger was too early. And in trying to fix everything, in trying to save everyone, Reborn Luffy might have made himself too early as well. But did you ever wonder what all of Luffy's Captain Rivals forms and evolutions look like throughout the series? Well, you can click on this video right here to find out. Go on, click it.